Today is March 1st, 2023. Our weekly COVID metrics, there is an average of 163 cases reported in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County, which is a 15% decrease over the last 2 weeks. This was updated on February 22nd.
Sweet.
Perfect. And so therefore the subject is comfortable not to wear a mask. And we will get started.
Alrighty.
Okay, so can you give me your full name?
Well, my full name is Lola Chisholm, but I have everybody go by Lola. Makes it easier because some people cannot say Lolita for some reason. They'll put a TH in there.
All right. And so what do you do?
I am the administrative assistant at the Night School of Communication at Queen's University of Charlotte.
Awesome. And where's home for you right now?
Charlotte, born and bred.
Awesome. So you've been in the Charlotte area your whole life?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And could you describe your experience during the last 2 or 3 years dealing with the COVID pandemic?
Well, that's an easy one. I lost a job that I truly liked and, of course, did like everyone else and had to do the unemployment. Then I worked also JP Morgan, data entry. So it was just kind of stressful losing a job that I had just gotten back into from being out for health reasons. And they just shut the whole place down. And now the office still isn't open. Everyone still works from home.
That's crazy.
I know.
So how did that affect you?
It made me extremely sad because I really liked going to work there every day. But then again, it's a blessing in disguise because now I'm here and it's like I feel more comfortable working here at Queen's, my alma mater, of course, than I did working at the other place, which was still a good place to work, but the feeling is just totally different.
I did not realize you were an alum. When did you go to Queen's?
I graduated in 1998.
All right, very cool. And so what have some of those differences looked like between like your experience of Charlotte and maybe even Queens before and then post-pandemic?
Difference. As far as Queens and when I was a student here, the night school did not exist. It was still the science building. Other than that part is the same. The people still great, wonderful. As far as Charlotte itself as a whole with the pandemic, I see people, in all honesty, being more distant from each other, not just, face to face, but just in talking with each other. I don't see as much gathering of people wanting to get to know each other and things like that. It's not as friendly town as it used to be from when I was growing up here.
Okay. And what has been so we had your hand map. What have been some of those supports as you've gone through some of these challenges from the pandemic?
Big one, my faith and just praying every day and just, looking at the answers, or as Garth Brooks would say, God answers unanswered prayers, looking at that. Both of my parents are deceased, but I go back and think of the things that they would say to me and taught me. And then, of course, the boyfriend, Scott, who totally there the whole time while I'm freaking out of not having a job. How am I going to pay the mortgage? And he's like, remember, you're the one with the faith. And it's like, knocked me back into place. So those are the main things that kept me going.
Very cool. And what do you remember of like the early days of when we found out about COVID? Do you remember what you did during some of the lockdown?
I did work from home while I still had that job, since they were still trying to navigate through everything and going by all the different reports. I myself didn't really go out of the house outside of walking the garbage down to the compactor. I tried to learn Spanish on the side, online Spanish. Oh, not a good idea. I basically just kind of stayed in the house. I did exactly like they said, hunker down until things start to kind of pass or ease up.
Okay. And have any of your like friendships or family relationships changed during this time?
That it did. I learned a lot as far as family is concerned when we were all in lockdown, and the thought process of some relatives. So currently, there's a couple of relatives I no longer speak with. I think about them, I pray about them, but I don't go out of my way, let's say, to actually meet up with them or speak with them. Because their views and my views are like totally different. And I did not realize that until this pandemic hit.
Yeah, it kind of revealed some things.
Yes.
All right. Describe your experience like going out in public at that time. Like, was there anything that you felt? How was that experience like?
It wasn't bad. As long as I wore my mask, I was fine. I would notice those who did not wear their mask. I just made sure to stay clear. If we were going down the same aisle, like at the grocery store, I would kind of wait until they, picked up what they needed, and then I would go down the aisle and get what I needed. But other than that, it wasn't, it was just noticing those who did not wear a mask for whatever their personal reason was.
Mm-hmm. And has the pandemic, like since then, has anything changed about like your normal routines? Has anything like lasted that you do differently now?
I still wear a mask when I go out to the store, or just basically shopping. I'll still wear my mask no matter what the numbers say. I just feel like it's probably safest that way. Here at Queens, I do not, because Queens has such a good handle on it, so I feel safe. But just being out in public with strangers, no, definitely still wear that.
Okay. And what are there any long-lasting consequences of this period that you kind of noticed?
Long lasting. No, I can't think of any right now.
All right. What are there any good things that you've learned through your experience with this?
Gosh, yes. The good thing I learned, it all stems from working here. All the jobs that I've had throughout my life and being locked down during COVID has brought me to this point of how I do my job here and the people and talking and speaking with people. All of it just became a circle. And it's like, okay, I had to go through that journey of COVID and being locked down and losing a job and, going through the fear to make me how and what I am today and how I do my job here.
Yeah, and could you elaborate on like what that means to you and how you do it?
Well, let's see. I have never ever worked at a higher ed position. I was in TV news for over 16 plus years. So it's like a totally different mindset and the way people speak with each other and deal with each other. I mean, you have the people who, because they're on TV, think they're the gods of the world or what have you. So you learn how to handle them. Um, I was a graphics coordinator. I can't draw stick people. I am horrible, but yet I was able to learn how to create graphics and teach myself how to use their computer system, which there were 3, and learn how to do all that while live on air. So my coordination grew, my confidence in, hey, I can learn this, not a problem, that grew. And just speaking to people from all different types of backgrounds. I'm used to just, Charlotte, maybe people moving from New York or Florida, what have you, wherein being here, I'm speaking with people from different countries, and that's just awesome. So, yeah, that whole experience Circle has just brought me here.
Awesome. And so when did you start at Queens during the pandemic? And at that point, were you in person, working online?
I started in 2021. So that think that was when they were just starting to bring people a little bit at a time back onto campus. So I've been on campus since day one.
Okay, and what was that like in the beginning?
It was great. And then I was like, where is everybody? And, I was told, well, we're just gradually bringing things in, which was fine because that, gave me enough time to kind of learn certain things that go on during that time that I was hired. The adjuncts coming in and hiring process and, the book orders for students for the next semester. So it was a good time to be here while it wasn't so many people because it gave me more time to learn the duties that I have to do.
Okay, and what was the process like in that transition of like the peak of the pandemic to when things started going back to normal?
Mm-hmm.
What was that transition process like over time as like restrictions changed and like people's attitudes started changing, we got vaccines? What was that transition like?
For me, it was quite easy. As soon as Queen said, hey, you need to bring us proof that you had the first shot or the second, I had no problem doing that. And that made that transition there was easy because I know some people are still like not trusting of the booster and what have you. So for me, the transition was quite easy. Coming in for my interview, it actually happened in the room we're in, and it was online with a few people. That was also a very new thing for me. But everything just went really smooth. It was like 1, 2, 3. It was like nothing missed a beat. It's like it's always been that way.
Okay, very cool. That's good. That's good. I'm glad that went well.
Yeah.
Do you have any like additional like interesting stories or like funny or emotional experiences that you want to share like during the COVID-19 like lockdown or during that transition? Any like anecdotes or anything?
Let's see. Anything that happened crazy?
Crazy, funny, any of those?
Well, it kind of happened at the start of the pandemic before they started locking people down. I had to be rushed I live in Matthews, so I had to be rushed to the hospital in Matthews, the Novant. And while there and being examined and everything in the emergency room, I'm in pain. I see my boyfriend over here and I hear this loud noise. And I'm thinking, because there's a railroad track close to the hospital, I'm thinking, oh, it's the train. And I'm concentrating on hearing that train so that I'm not making myself nervous for why I'm there. I later found out, no, that wasn't a train. A tornado had just hit the hospital and part of the roof had come off. And I'm like, okay, luckily I was all drugged up when they told me this. And I'm laying there going, oh, wow, cool, tornado. And that was my reaction. And my nurse was like, Lola, I just told you that a tornado came through while you were in the emergency room. Does that not upset you? I'm like, no. And I looked at her and I said, well, did it get the Wicked Witch? Because I thought, I don't know, my brain was like Wizard of Oz, and that's all I could think. And I was like, okay, I get it now.
That is a good story. I like that one.
Great drugs.
Great drugs, and very good thing you probably did not know about it beforehand.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, that's a pretty interesting one. Is there anything else about how this experience shaped you as a person? Maybe going back to your hand map, are there any of those characteristics or journeys that may have like been increased by this experience or changed because of it or even came about because of it?
Yes, I feel like I am more happy and more enthusiastic about things and people. I'm not as shy about coming out and talking or asking, just like this that we're doing. Before the pandemic, before I started working at all other jobs, I would have like curled up and said, oh no, and would have been scared. But now it's like, psh, I can do anything, whatever you want, except rob a bank. We're good.
Awesome. That's a great mindset. Very cool. And then can we talk about the one that you wrote down at the bottom of your palm, like the the words and phrases that come to mind when you think of just that COVID-19 experience?
Job loss and tired of COVID-19.
That's what I thought when I had to do this.
Yes, it's like, is it ever going to go away? And in all honesty, I don't think it'll lessen, like they're saying the numbers are going down. That's fine, but I think a little trickle will always be there. But I'm still tired of it.
I think that's a pretty shared sentiment among most people, especially at this school. What do you think the future will look like? That can be personally, in general, whatever route you take.
I think the future, everything's still going to grow. Things are going to get back to a different type of normalcy. You still won't find people who will work, let's say, in the restaurant business or the hotel business. I think those areas are always going to struggle because people no longer want to be in those positions as a waitress, as a cook, or as a house person at a hotel or manager, because people now are just so mean and hateful to each other. So they just don't, and it always goes back to money. I'm not getting paid enough to have this person come up to me and yell at me because their French fries weren't hot. You know, so in that sense, I don't feel like that's ever gonna be better. That's gonna be the new norm, people to be hateful and mean because the French fries aren't hot or the order was incorrect. And that's very sad. Other things, people finally going after their dreams, I think that's gonna increase and change. That job that they've always wanted, that trip they always wanted to take, that goal of reaching that high top mountain, all of that I think will change.
Awesome. And is there anything you personally hope to see?
Ireland.
Any plans for that?
At the moment, no. And that's, of course, as I said, due to money. That's why. But my dream is to go to Ireland. And if I can't go to Ireland, I'll take Maine. I mean, they're two different places, but two different everything. But those are my dream places.
Very cool. What have you learned from your own personal experiences over the last couple of years? What are your big takeaways?
My big takeaways are I did learn that I had very little faith before COVID and that it has grown. So I now have, all the more. I have learned that I can drink more than just Budweiser. I can go to the little South End pubs and have something different, and I like those. My taste in music, that has not changed. Well, no, I take that back. It's changed a little. I used to stick to one band. If I, like Shinedown before COVID was like the band. That's the only one. Every CD, everything. I wouldn't listen to anything else. And I'm like, well, just listen to this group. So now it's Nickelback. So now it's like I'm just growing in the music industry. Now, I'm sorry if this offends anyone, but rap, never in my life. Never. I can't deal with that at all. So those are kind of my takeaways. My music's grown and just being more myself, because I consider myself very unique. I mean, there's not many people of my age and my race who's blurt out, yeah, I want to go to Ireland because I also love this band called the Blackguards, who are awesome. How many people do you know who look like me know who the Blackguards are and that they're from Ireland? Come on.
Probably not a lot.
Exactly. And that was the other thing that people have now learned about me and that I've been open with. I will express myself to you because I look at every person as unique as I am. Just because you may be the same race as this person, you're still two different unique people who, of course, have different parents, so that kind of helps right there. But I just look at people as themselves, and I just like for people to look at me that way.
Awesome. All right. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think is important to talk about related to the past couple of years? Anything we missed?
Well, not so much missed, but I would just like people to know, since I'm from Charlotte, that the current Charlotte 2023 is just not the same to me. Charlotte used to be filled with more happy people, even during other diseases and things that happened throughout, the years and stuff. Um, there's so much of Charlotte that people will never see. The history of Charlotte, certain buildings that have been torn down to make way for banks and other businesses. There's way too many shootings and people getting killed. Charlotte was never like that before. Um, During my time of growing up here, you might have heard of one or two here and there, but now today, it's like every day somebody is shooting somebody for stupid reasons, dumb reasons. And I just hate that people are seeing this Charlotte and not the Charlotte I know.
Yeah. Can you describe kind of what it was like growing up here?
Oh my God. Oh my God, it was great. You know how here in Myers Park you have the trees lining the streets. It used to be like that all over Charlotte. It did not matter what side of town you were on. Um, you just grew up with all these trees and lots of room for kids to play. Unlike today, they're playing in the street or on the sidewalk. Um, there used to be a thing for kids and their parents, soapbox derby, where dad would help you build your little race car. And I want to say it was off Providence Road, but it's some road in Charlotte that had a huge hill that they would hold these races. And the prizes were scholarships for school, regardless if it was like an elementary school or junior high. They had things like that.
Did you race?
Lord, no. We would go and watch, but yeah, my dad did not really have time for that, but he would love to watch. Um, I can think of uptown Charlotte the way it is today. Yeah, the buildings are pretty and all that, but there used to be a drugstore right on the corner of where one of the Bank of America are now, where you could go over there and sit at the counter and you could have a hamburger, a French fries, and a milkshake for $3. And you would get a milkshake that would be like this tall, and a hamburger that actually looked like the picture and not that. Used to be record stores, those round age.
They're coming back. They're
yes.
trendy now.
And
I have some.
And that's the other thing. The record store that would be on the corner, I paid $1.99 for my record. And I went into Best Buy and saw the same album, and they're asking $32. I still have my $1.99 album and something to play it on. But back to Charlotte and its changes, I've seen a lot of buildings knocked down that had so much history in them. But to me, the people who now run Charlotte are not from Charlotte, so they don't care. They care more about the money that it can bring into town. Here on this floor, we have a picture in the co-working space of an implosion of the old Charlotte Hotel, wherein now I think the Carillon building stands where it used to. That Hotel Charlotte used to house Billy Graham, Elvis Presley, just all these different people throughout time stayed there. That was the Ritz-Carlton of Charlotte. Now it's gone. My parents had their prom there. That kind of thing is like, it's just all gone, and it's so sad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do you hope that people do about some of the problems that you said earlier, like what we're seeing now? What do you think the community needs to do?
The community should do like I do and look at each person for who they are. And let's say if they came from a neighborhood where all they know is violence, try to get it in your head to understand that old saying, put yourself in their shoes. If everyone did that, they would have a better understanding of what's happening. But instead, everyone wants to blame someone else. um, I am a huge supporter of our first responders, both police, fire department, EMS. And to me, the police should not be the parent of your child or the so called grown up. And people need to take responsibilities for their own actions. Um, the police tell you, hey, put your hands up, just do it. Don't do it fast. Just follow directions. You follow directions in school. You follow directions at work. You follow your parents' directions growing up as a child. When they tell you to do something, you do it. You don't, well, at least with my parents, you didn't ask why. You just did it. If you wanted to ask why, be prepared for the punishment. I did that once. It only took me one time to learn. So if people just remembered how they grew up and others just try to put themselves in that position, I don't think we would have all these things that are going on. I just wish the world could just, wear each other's shoes and have a better understanding. And just remember, the police aren't there to beat you up or shoot you. Yeah, you got bad ones, but don't blame the few bad ones on everybody else. That's just wrong. I mean, you didn't follow directions. What happened, unfortunately, happened. Another example for me for that is I had a fiance who was killed in a construction accident. People would come to me, well, are you going to sue? I'm like, or is his family going to sue? And we were both like, no, why would we? He contributed to his own death because he did not wear his safety harness. That's all he had to do. So I look at that and I look at people and I look at all this stuff going on with the police. If he had worn his safety harness, he'd be here, we'd be married. If you had done what the cops told you, you would be here, your parents would not be burying you. It's kind of simple.
Absolutely. And do you think like the experience of the pandemic has kind of heightened some of that stuff, or like made it tougher, or made it more?
I think it's
just in general, like the community.
Yeah, I think it has heightened all of that. Because, like I said, people just want to blame somebody else. So being cooped up, not being able to work, not being able to get out, it's led people to sit and rethink things, change their mindset on things, where it's like they never thought of this before. But when you don't have anything to do and you're locked in looking at four walls, it's just like being in prison. You're thinking of, how can I get back at this person for putting me here? So you being locked up in your home and not being able to go out, you're going to sit here and think, oh, I watch the news. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Your whole mindset changes and you yourself change that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's all my questions. Do you have any like photos, writing, artwork, anything relating to your experience with the COVID pandemic that you would like to be archived with the project?
I don't have not one thing, unless you want my booster shot card that I carry around.
for HIPAA purposes, maybe.
Yeah. That's the only thing I have.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
You're welcome. Anytime.